Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is the #1 Protoss from South Korea going up against the #1 Terran, I'm gonna say it, the #1 Terran in the world. Spotting right here in the bottom right hand corner in game number 1, joined by the little polar bear on the main command center. We have the world champion of StarCraft 2 and he goes by the name of Clem. Maru fanboys already getting upset at me. To be fair, I haven't really seen any Maru games in quite a few weeks, although hopefully soon. Anyways, spotted right here in the top left with the red Protoss probes. We're looking. Should I also upset some Protoss fans out there? We're looking at the... No. I actually do believe that, well, hero has a chance to be the #1 Protoss on the planet. Personally, I am a little bit biased towards MaxSpecs, because MaxSpecs is just so crisp with all of his execution, but there is no denying that hero... He tends to bring these really clutch situations out all of a sudden, and that is something that... Well, MaxSpecs is just like consistently at a higher level in my mind, but hero has incredibly high highs. And he's gonna have to bring his A game, because Clem never really plays bad. This particular series is the finals of a LowkoTV Monday, and, well, as of me casting it, it was played on Monday. So, in, this particular instance, only a couple of days ago. Either way, that does mean that there is a few $100s on the line for a best of 5 like this. So... both players will certainly try to bring some good StarCraft. Both of these, by the way, play in a ton of online cups. Hero has been playing in many of them for years. Clem, likewise as well. He signs up for practically everything these days, which is kind of insane when you think about it, right? Like, say, for example, you are, like, the rank 25 in the world, and you want to participate in a weekly. Essentially, every single weekly online cup right now has all the top dogs signing up. I mean, maybe not the herO's of this world, maybe not the Marus, right? Like I, for example, mentioned earlier. They don't really play in these smaller tournaments, but Hero and Clem, they play in everything. MaxSpec signs up for practically all of it. Bjorn is in a lot of them, Dark is in a lot of them, Shin is in... Like, you have to... The top 8 in every single weekly cup, they have... I would say, like, the top 8, like, going from, like, the semifinals maybe even onwards, probably, like, at least 5 or 6 of them are top 10 players on the planet. It's kind of nuts. Anyway, we've got hero going for a good old Sentry first build. And I love Sentry first builds. It's technically a little bit risky. In this particular instance, though, he's already gotten away with it. Clem not opening up with anything too aggressive. Because of that new energy recharge ability on the Nexus, you can get that nice quick energy boost on the Sentry. And you can figure out exactly what Terran is up to. This is like one little game adjustment, like one balance patch away from being significantly overpowered. I would not be surprised if at some point we're going to see some sort of adjustment that is going to make this Sentry first build the complete standard. So right now we go Sentry into Stalker as the standard, right? Like we see a lot of games like this. Oh, hero, don't do this again. We've seen hero do this before, where he now loses the Sentry, which is incredibly silly. He wants to be aggressive, but don't lose the Sentry, please. Yeah, he's trying to keep it in the back, so he wants to throw a force field on the ramp and then have the Stalker kill as many of those Marines as possible. Little risky. Little bit risky. Losing the Sentry here would actually be a problem. Cyclone coming up. Medevac coming up too. This is, by the way, why I enjoy watching these top-level players go up against this, or up against each other, because they tend to play very aggressive early games. Both Hero and Clem, they like to be in each other's face. Even though TVP tends to be a little bit slow. Usually when these two play against each other, it is just something else. So, we're gonna go into the charge research here for Hero first. So, even though he's known as a blink man, he enjoys the blinking strategies quite a bit. Apparently, we are not going to go for that in this particular game. Maybe after the charge is done. But usually, this is a big indication that he wants to go for something hyper-aggressive. Clem is mostly just playing the I'm gonna absorb every attack until I eventually go across the map type of build. So, he's just bringing the siege tank here. Yep. And then we are gonna grab whatever we've got from the early game. We're gonna bring everything that is left over, and we're gonna try and see if we can deal some critical amounts of damage. Now, against this particular push, charge is amazing. Charge is so powerful here. Clem at this point has only ever seen a bunch of Stalkers. Guardian Shield coming in clutch as well. That is reducing the incoming damage for the units inside of that bubble from ranged units that are firing outside of the bubble. Charge is going to hit like a truck. Still 10 seconds away, though. Yeah, I mean, Oh, Clem actually moving the siege tank up. Here we go. You gotta engage this properly. It's a little bit messy. Negating a lot of the splash damage here is the Protoss player, and he is indeed going to be able to clean this up with relative ease. And now Clem, yeah, he's gonna be forced to go all the way back home. How many gateways are we on? Just the 4. Ooh, no blink, of course. But if he can get the medevac as well, that is big. Clem, anticipated right here by hero. Yeah, Clem trying to go for the flyby into the natural expansion, but hero already knew that tendency right there from the French Terran player. And this is going from bad to worse right now for Clem. Yes, he can recover. But for the next few minutes, it is all up to the Protoss player to do whatever he likes. Now, apparently what he likes is to go into a Robo Bay together with a 3rd Nexus. Problem here for Clem, though, is that he has no idea. He can't really scan, he can't really scout. So all that Clem really gets to do here is sit behind his little wall and hang out. Cross his fingers, hope he's not gonna die. I guess that's all, you know, any of us can truly ever do. Just cross your fingers, make it to the end of another day. That is effectively the way that Clem is approaching it right now. Rather than taking life proactively, we are just sitting here and taking a beating. Hero, though, is going to transition into Colossus and also a bunch of Blink. I was going to say Colossus with Blink. But that would be kind of nuts. 3rd CC coming up. Stimpak, combat shields, +1 infantry attacks. All of it is very powerful. But hero is going to be able to build up a nice economy. Now, I think Clem will still have a really good chance, though, to potentially bring this game home. It just really takes one bad engagement for Protoss, and we have seen those time and time again. There's this very delicate moment for Protoss where, well, it's basically the situation right now, right? Where you have, like, a bunch of good units, but you don't have a lot of anything. So you have, like, 1 Colossus, and then 1 Sentry, and 1 Immortal. And technically, they can fight anything that is out there on the map at this point in time. But also, if you miss micro it for even, like, half a second, it is probably going to be game over. Clem is going to try and see if he can maybe tear this Protoss player apart from the inside out. Maybe do some multi-pronged aggression, or just use the drop, yeah, to buy time to get that 3rd command center landed on the low ground. He does have a probe out, or rather an observer here out on the map as well, so he sees exactly what's up. Hallucinated Phoenix is also just going to confirm exactly what's happening. And furthermore here for Clem, another attack that fails. He flies by a pylon, and that means that he is, well, scouted easily in time. Already, hero is waiting inside of the main base. So this is just going nowhere for Clem. Although I say that, he still has a good chance to just go across the map and murder everything. And maybe this is the beginning of something. If he can force the council on this Nexus, that would be awesome. No, not quite enough. Maybe a move into the main base? Yeah, don't underestimate Terran, though. Like, yeah, he doesn't have the greatest setup, but it's also by no means the end of the world. And Clem is known for formidable multitasking, and that's exactly what he's trying to do right here, too. Pull his opponent into 3 different parts, and now suddenly appear here with a big group of Marine Marauder medevac. Mines want to back up to try and prevent any of the Zealots from charging at the siege tanks. One of the siege tank goes down, though. Second one not too far behind. Marines Marauders are still left over. The rest of the Terran army managed to get a kill, not a cancel, on the 4th Nexus. Boost into the main base once more. Photon Cannon, though, is going to push all of this away for now. But that's exactly why Clem is so dangerous. Clem's macro is perfect. His micro is pretty much perfect, too. Never count this man out. Yeah, not the best traits in the world. But you know what? Income-wise, Clem has managed to get a really nice advantage. Still, is this Protoss army too good? Obviously, Terran hasn't been able to make a lot of flying units yet. He's just been trying to make Marine Marauder medevac, but not a lot of Vikings just yet. There's 5 of them in total. We do have a bunch of Stalkers. I think there's enough Marauders as well at the front here to keep all of this honest. Observer is gonna die. Colossi waiting on the high ground. But there's now the 4th command center. And even though it is indeed a little bit later than the 4th Nexus, this is a really good spot here for Clem. Clem always does this, man. Like, his first attack just failed. His second attack didn't really achieve anything. And then a few minutes later, You would expect him to be effectively dead in the water. He's managed to climb his way back into the game. 2-2 coming up. This is certainly late. But I mean, he had to delay that in order to not die. Dark Shrine also coming up. Second robo facility for hero. Oh, really? We're just gonna walk into the Widow Mines? I mean, he does have 4 of them. I think there's enough Vikings, though, to keep all of this going. The Vikings are going to be able to get a shot. 1 Colossus, 2 Colossus, 3 Colossus! Woo! Clem is such a dangerous man. And this is exactly what he did at the World Championships last year, man. He was just so dominant. Didn't look particularly close. When Clem is playing well, he's just really hard to stop. Like, this early game was about as bad as Clem is ever going to get it, and didn't really even seem to affect him very much. You can't be making mistakes like that. It's just not really a possibility here. Hero losing the biggest units of the game. I don't believe you can really rely on a Dark Templar run by here against Clem either. Like, the thing is, it works if Protoss is able to multitask, right? Like, out-multitask Terran. But Clem is super fast. Like, Clem is one of the quickest players in the entire game. He's got about 100 actions per minute on his opponent so far. Now, obviously, you can't read into that all too much, but maybe we can go to the first-person view for a little bit. Bottom right corner indicates what he has got selected during the game at this point in time. So you can kind of see the speed at which things are moving. Obviously, the brain moves a little bit quicker than this.
Mineral field depleted.
But it's a nice feeling when your brain and your APM are in sync, you know? Like, there is a moment where you want to play fast, and you kind of play in full panic mode. That's actually what happened first off when I tried to increase my APM once upon a time. Like, increasing a statistic is a bit silly, but, you know. I was young and stupid once a long time ago, and I saw that the pro gamers were quick, so I was like, I'm gonna be a fast player too! So I started pressing a lot of buttons unnecessarily, and then at some point I realized, wait a second, I'm playing this entire game as if I'm in like a fight or flight scenario, you know? Beautiful splitty right there by Clem. What about that one? Okay, that one is not as clean. But this is still a very scary sandwich here for Protoss coming in from multiple angles. Zealots just charging away at whatever they can hit. We only have 1 ghost now available. Vikings land on the ground as well. Stalkers decide to blink forward. Zealots actually do have a really nice set of upgrades here, so they're actually quite powerful. All right. Fusion core on the back of this. Yeah, you want to play the game fast, but also you want to play quick, but you want to be calm at the same time. You want to have like your hands be connected properly to your brain. So like the things you're thinking about executing need to be able to, you know, get executed without being in a panic state. So these guys will be playing fast, but the vast majority of those 450 actions per minute right here for Clem are going to be at like a relatively low heart rate, if that makes any sense. You will actually see the heart rates go up, especially like the longer the game goes. So at this point, you know, it will be a little bit higher for sure. But in the early game, players will be going 400 APM, maybe 80, 90 beats per minute. I've always thought that was pretty interesting. Once upon a time, we had StarCraft tournaments with like heartbeat trackers for the pro gamers. It's a fun little bit of info. Interesting how you can go up to like 160 beats a minute while sitting in a chair. It's actually kind of nuts when you think about it. Anyway. Where do we go from here? Well, hero is trying to bring this game back by trying to get good hits with the disruptors, right? So the disruptors are a phenomenal tool to try and get back into the swing of things. It's just that Clem rarely takes one of those big bowling balls to the face. But hey, you know what? Hits like that can work. Suddenly, hero is once more appearing here with a bunch of units. Terran army is not all together. Vikings, for example, are landed on the ground. It's an extremely zealot-heavy army, but zealots also have a lot of damage output. Oh. Good hitty. Oh, very good, actually. Planetary Fortress over here at the bottom is going to also put in some supplemental damage. Dude, hero is actually bringing us back. We haven't really seen Disruptor play over the last few months, but he's been starting to make them once again. Ever since the unit got nerfed a bit in this matchup, so they no longer one-shot Marauders that are at full HP. Ever since it got nerfed, a lot of Protoss players have been skipping the unit, but it still certainly is an option. Ooh, careful! Okay, does get the snipe right there, barely in time. If you kill the Disruptor while the Nova is channeling, the ability is cancelled. Big EMPs once again, but it didn't catch all of the Zealots, I don't think, and that means that a lot of the Terran units will indeed have to be evacuated on out of there. Reinforcing Bion units show up, but Hero is already running. Clem, though, is ultimately spending a lot of his money in a Skytals, or a Sky Terran rather, transition. Is it a little bit too early? That's mostly my question. If you can get up to like 12 Liberators with range, that would be amazing. But Hero is trying to make sure that the game does not go on for that long. Bringing the supply count all the way back up. Whew, okay. Problem here for Hero is that he does not have an answer against many Liberators. Like, he can only ever produce Stalkers, but Stalkers are questionable at this point in time. Like, ideally you want to have something like Tempest, but obviously Hero does not have the luxury here to transition in that army right now. He effectively has chosen his path, and he's going to go and double down. Now, in order to play this style, he's made a lot of Nexi. He's got 84 workers at this point in time, too. He is planning on just overwhelming this. He's effectively Zerging the Terran right now, but with Protoss. Does that make any sense? Full economy. The Zealots are Zerglings. Now, that choke point is phenomenal, though. Really powerful spot for EMPs. Really good position as well for those Liberators to siege up. We have one Lib as well in the back. This one is hard to reach for the Protoss, especially because Hero here is busy trying to not, well, let the Terran player expand, but slowly the Liberator count is growing. We're now up to 7. And I'm a bit afraid that despite Hero's best efforts, the Liberators are ultimately going to win Clem the game. Because there is just no easy answer. Like, Clem can almost, like, box his opponent into a corner. As long as the Marines and the Marauders stand and fight, like they are right now, as long as they stand and fight within those liberation circles, it's going to be nearly impossible here for the Terran to really lose. More Liberators sieging up. Remember in the previous patch, originally they were planning on buffing the Liberator? Outrageous, dude. I'm still a little upset when I think about that. Like, the balance council actually was like, yeah, no, this is nerf. No, it wasn't! They wanted to make the circles bigger. Anyway. That patch did not quite make it, or that balance change did not quite get put in a patch. Clem is showing us why the Liberator is such a good weapon to have. Yeah, the circle was originally meant to be like 30% bigger, which is just insane. Like, the amount of space it covered was just silly. Yeah. Despite Hero's best efforts, he is not able to push Clem back into his corner of the map. Now, obviously, this was originally Hero's game to win. He was significantly ahead after the early game, but Clem managed to bring it back. Now Clem has got to deal with Hero's final units, and those units are headed straight towards the main. Obviously, no easy way for Terran to go back home in this game, but the Liberators, they can fly, and he's going to try and set those up in such a position that they will probably cover each other. Yeah. Ultimately, the win condition in a game of StarCraft 2 is to destroy all of your opponent's structures, and I believe that Clem's army here will be able to complete that task long before Hero will, but you know what? Hero is fighting. Sometimes Hero is in a mood where he gives up a little too quick, in my opinion. It seems to me that today we're dealing with Hero who really is pushing himself to the absolute limit. But this game is over. I want to believe, but this game is not really winnable anymore for Protoss. Recalling the probes, trying to find another mineral field for them to mine. I mean, he is ultimately microing around those Liberators. But the supply count and the economies and the upgrades and all of it is not going to deceive us for much longer. Hero really believes. And this is one of those moments where if you are Clem, right? If you're Clem, you're like, what? Why isn't he... Who does he think he is right now? How does he not leave? Okay, GG. Next up, we find ourselves on ley lines. Sentry first again for Hero. Okay. I wonder if Clem is gonna try and punish this at some point, but... For now, not the case. He will once more see the little hallucinated paper plane. Sentry's gonna have to fight for it. Ooh, you stepped into your own Reaper grenade, buddy. Awkward. Lucky though for the Reaper, much like the Protoss units, he will also regenerate health pretty quickly. Well, I guess it's the shields that are being regenerated, but... all is good so far. Stargate build, this time around for hero. Okay. You know what? I thought for a little bit there, this matchup from the Protoss' point of view is becoming a little bit too predictable. It was essentially, and this is something hero does really well. I feel like it's something that maybe max specs could still improve on, but it was essentially Blink Stalker every game, day in and day out. Hero now wants to go into something a little different, and this is perfectly safe now. Yeah, love the Sim City here. This is a weird wall, but it's making it very difficult for those Terran units to run in. Clever building placement. We're actually just going straight into Phoenixes. Now, there's two ways to play Phoenixes. Either you go Phoenix into Charge, or you go Phoenix into Colossi. Either situation, though, you do need a lot of Phoenixes. So once you go into the Phoenixes, you have to keep going into the Phoenixes. Notice how Hero is showing Clem a bunch of Stalkers at this point, so obviously Clem is trying to figure out what is happening in this game. He hasn't been able to find anything. All he's seen is a bunch of Stalkers, and generally when there's smoke, there's fire. But not in this instance. Oh my god, he's gotta be sending the medevac in. This could become really awkward here for Clem when he finds out that, wait a second, my opponent can shot this out of the sky within seconds. Phoenixes don't mess around, so he's hiding them inside of the main. That means that basically for every single one of these Terran units, this is a one-way trip. I don't know if that's the mission they signed up for and whether or not they are aware. Let's see how much damage they can deal before they will ultimately fall. Okay. Immediately, Phoenixes are sprung into motion. That medevac now realizes that something is a little cursed. Widowmine gets picked it up as well. And... picked it up? Picked it up. Nice wording. Yeah. That is the end of this. Push over here at the front, not achieving much either. So far, by the way, Hero has not gone for any sort of tech yet. So we don't have a robo facility. We don't have a Twilight Council. Instead, we just have more of the same. And maybe he believes he can go and win right now. You can lift up a siege tank, of course. Okay. More units falling. I think Hero actually is just planning on trying to be aggressive with the units he's got right now. This is a little overly aggressive. Something that can certainly bite you in the butt if you overextend, but he's decided to just commit. Oh no, no energy. No energy on the Phoenixes. That's so awkward. He just tried to lift up the siege tanks. And all of the Phoenixes were looking at each other like, hey, do you have 50 energy? Do you have enough for a graviton lift? Okay, ultimately, one of their reinforcing brothers came up. And that one did have energy, but... yikes. GG. That was pretty much a perfect game for Hero. Other than the awkward moment when the sentries, or sorry, the Phoenixes were looking at each other. They were like, hey, do you have energy? Oh, maybe you have good energy? Like, all of them forgot their wallets, conveniently. It's a little bit awkward. But other than that, that was pretty much the perfect game right there for Hero. Could not have really gone much better. Well, now we find ourselves in El Dorado. It's always that same friend, right, who forgets their wallet. Ay. Oh no, I'll graviton lift next time. Next time comes around. Guess what? Forgot his energy again. Embarrassing. Either way, Hero's mining out these golden mineral fields now in El Dorado awfully quickly. Well, I'm not exactly sure where we're going with this. Guess this is not the most optimal way if we just want to go down to the low ground. To get down to the low ground, but... it's a Stargate in the main base. Maybe he just wants to sit on the watchtower or something along those lines. Either way. Well, sure. That's one way to get high ground vision. Oh my god, he's using the Colossus for high ground vision to let the Stalker shoot at its maximum distance. And you know what? If you just attack move the Marines there, they accidentally might hit the Colossus. Obviously, you don't want it. This is actually a situation where you are better off hallucinating a Colossus here than a Phoenix. That's not really something we've seen optimal use of. The Phoenix is just a much smaller target to hit. And therefore, obviously, Terran can't really misclick on it. But when you have the Stalker underneath the hallucinated Colossus, there's a real chance the Terran will misclick. Huh. I kind of love it. Also, he did bring the Sentry back home, by the way, so the Sentry didn't die. Probe is indeed going to go and head on over to the Watchtower. And once more, Phoenixes are coming up. Let's see what Terran has decided to go for so far. So, obviously, Terran's main base will pretty much always look the same, or at least similar. It just depends on what sort of units they actually want to be producing here. It's going to be a Raven for now. The Raven is another very suboptimal choice against Phoenix builds. This is Clem anticipating a Blink Stalker opener, because it's pretty much always Blink Stalker from hero. But hero has not shown us Blink Stalker a single time yet. So this is Phoenixes now into the very conventional follow-up with Robo Facility and then a Robo Bay. Before too long, he will be extending his thermal lens. So, you know, we've got that going for us. We'll probably fire up a Colossus first, though. Mostly just wants to see what's up. Observer, scouting around. Where did the Raven go, by the way? Okay, Raven's just hiding inside of the natural expansion for now. He's just checking. Don't mind me. I'll just siege up a little bit further back. Yeah. Out of range, but not out of mind. We have a little Protoss mating ritual. I believe this is where the 4 Phoenixes that are going around the outside are trying to impress the 1 Phoenix in the middle. God, life is beautiful. Nature is truly beautiful. Look at this. Wow. It is that season again. Alright, Stimpak combat shields plus 1 infantry weapons versus ranged Colossi. Third Nexus is indeed coming up at the bottom of the map. Hallucinated Phoenix going around. I don't think Clem has actually seen any of the real Phoenixes yet, which is kind of funny. Because he's already got so many of them. Yeah, he's still going to continuously pump them out. And it's time to lift. It's important to lift multiple times a week, preferably. Oh my god. This is such a big anti-timing. Clem did not even consider the possibility of Phoenixes anymore. What? Did he just kill one of his own Marines on his way out? Hero showing us what is considered to be a deadlift. Okay, no, sorry. That was a really nice beginning, though. 10 SCVs, just like that. 3 Marines, 0 minerals and gas lost so far for Hero. This is what we call a perfect game. Now, I don't think it's going to be a perfect game before too long. But it's a really nice beginning. Luckily, I guess for Clem, he didn't at the very least send that Raven across the map. Sending that Raven across the map could have been an absolute disaster. But so far, Clem is just kind of turning into a punching bag in game number 2 and 3. I mean, in game number 1 as well, to be fair. Like, game number 1 was by no means a great start. Robo Bay? Or, what? Fleet Beacon? Let me try that again. When you think about it, the Fleet Beacon is basically the Robo Bay of the Stargate. Anyways, what is this? The Fleet Support Beacon? Whatever we want to call it. Either way, it looks to me like we want to make a transition towards full Skytals. Felix is getting a little overly ambitious, and that is going to be first blood right there for Clem. And second blood. Oh, actually, Probius had already died. Carriers. Really? I'm a little afraid Hero is getting a bit too fancy now. Liberators. Sorry, Raven rather going across the map here too. It is gonna get sniped before too long. Clem's still finding himself with a really nice supply advantage though. Let's see. At the very least, he notices that this group of medevacs was headed up north. There's a lot of vision down south, and herO's thinking about taking a gold base. Since Clem is going vertically here on this map, he's the one expanding to, well, the bottom of the map. I guess he may as well take those golden minerals at the bottom. Yeah? Don't mind if I do. Now, sometimes games look like this, and you have that perfect beginning, but then everybody's got a plan until, you know, you get punched in the face. Famous quote from Clem. Clem is a competitive boxer when he's not playing StarCraft, fun fact. He's really got that boxing physique. Ay. Nexus not getting cancelled. A couple of probes in some trouble too, but the Colossi at the very least got some damage in. No, he's not a competitive boxer, I lied. Most StarCraft pro gamers would not be great at boxing, I don't think. Most of them are, they have pretty noodle arms. I believe that's the scientific term for it. There's a lot of noodle arming in the pro gamer world. Interestingly enough, when you play a lot of StarCraft, a lot of pro gamers seem to have bigger forearms than they have, like, biceps and triceps. Now, I can think of multiple reasons as to why that would be, but I'm assuming it's because of StarCraft. This is a very weird unit composition right here for herO. He's going for only the expensive units. So in the previous games, he was playing full Gateway Man. Now he's only doing the exact opposite. Mama ship coming up, carriers coming up, we have Colossi. This is a banger of a Protoss army. In about a minute or two from now. I feel like Clem actually needs to sort of get his over with pretty quick, because he can be in a world of trouble in the near future. I don't know if herO really is prepared to be fighting this, though. Like, his army, like, he's pretending like he wants to fight. He's posturing like his army is massive. But I don't think I entirely agree. I think Clem is going to win this straight-up engagement by a landslide. There's no storm or anything like that, so... yeah, now it's coming. There's Mama. We rarely see the mothership, by the way, against Terran. Against Zerg, it's a very nice weapon to have. Against Terran, I mean... when you're going Skytoss, you're already forcing out a lot of Vikings. And Vikings are also very good against the mothership, so it kind of works out. EMP obviously still useful too. Okay, here we go. Storm is only about halfway done. Cloaking does get activated though. Enough scans available for Clem to sustain it for now. He's awkwardly kiting back to the safety of the watchtower, but he does take a massive Widowmine hit to the face. There's the Viking count though. There are 14, 13 of them still remaining. Is there enough for Terran to actually win this fight in the sky? I don't believe there is. herO has all of the units left over, exactly the ones that he wanted to keep alive. A lot of low HP troops, sure, but that was a lot of split damage. He's going to be able to rebuild a lot of those interceptors. In the meantime, though, there is a Marine drop in the natural and a Zealot run by as well on the other side of the map. herO is going to try and double down on this. Wait a second, is he actually just going to win right now? It's very difficult for Terran to deal with a Protoss army that is knocking on their door just like this. He needs that Viking count to up, but I mean, it's not big enough. Yeah, he's just jumping the production. This is the underbelly of the Terran. When the it's a bit awkward, but when Terran can't actually pop units out of the barracks without them immediately getting sniped, this game is... ooh? I think this game may actually be over. Yeah, GG. Did he rage quit? Clem did not GG. Alrighty, next up, we find ourselves on Amygdala. What a game. You know what? It's hard to say whether or not Clem actually forgot to GG there, or if he just straight up rage quit or whatever. Historically, in my mind, Clem has never been a particularly ragey person. Like, I've never really seen him get too angry, but, I mean, there have been a few instances over, like, the last half year where he did do, like, a big Hulk smash on the keyboard, and, you know, he's had his moments. He's had his moments where he clearly is very frustrated, so I wouldn't be too surprised either if that, yeah, that was actually a rage quit from the young Frenchman. Well, Sometimes getting angry actually makes you more focused. Not in my case. Like, whenever I get angry and I decide to queue up another game of StarCraft, that's 100% going to be a loss. Like, I have a tendency to play like a bit of an idiot, but when I'm upset, especially after a previous loss, nah, I feel like if I insta-queue after losing a frustrating game, the odds of me losing the next one are like 90%. Maybe Clem has more of a control on himself, but yeah, you have to bring it back. Well, this time around, it is going to be the good old Blink. Can't believe we have done, well, this is now the 4th game, and hero is finally going Blink. Anger queuing in any competitive situation is pretty much always a bad idea. Maybe if you have a team sport, right? When you have a coach to talk to or something, I mean, that's a bit different, but in StarCraft land, pretty much everybody plays just by themselves. Phoenix, hallucinated one again, going across. Hero, by the way, going Phoenix first so far, every single game. Take notes. You'd love to see it. Well, do we have enough now to deal with this? Clem once more is going to test the waters. He doesn't know what the tech of choice is going to be. Can we get a hallucination here, maybe? A hallucination to trigger the Widowmine would be nice. Sentry is going to sacrifice itself for ire. You see that? He's like, I will take it. I will carry the Widowmine to death. Is this Rivendell? Yeah, maybe. Blink coming up. What else, though, is a supply block. And it's a little awkward. Clem's biggest kill during that fight was not so much the units or the sentry. It was that one pylon that he targeted down. It has completely taken the wind out of hero's attack. So hero now is... Oh, no, that's a misplayed Nexus. Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Well... This is a hero game, okay? So look, what I was trying to explain at the very beginning of this, mech specs versus hero. Hero has incredible highs. That previous game we watched, that was nuts. Like, that wasn't supposed to happen like that. I never see mech specs play games like the previous one we just saw in El Dorado. That was pretty silly. And then the next one, we get supply blocked, we misplace the Nexus, we take way too much damage. I don't know if it was intentional to send the Sentry into a Widowmine. He kind of did it on what seemed like purpose, but I don't think that's optimal. It's a bit funky. There's this weird consistency problem. And I feel like when you play against Clem, you really aren't allowed to make mistakes like that. I really don't think you can. Well, Clem is just going to double check. He anticipated the Blink Stalker opener, and he hasn't seen much of it. He's now seen, though, that there is indeed a 3rd command center, or a Protoss command center. And he's just following this up with straight up macro. So, combat shields and Stimpak and +1 and all the rest of it. Blink in the meantime coming up on the other side of the map. And there is the good old extended thermal lens as well. Okay, so this is that lull in Terran versus Protoss where both players are just going to sit. Yeah, both of them benefit from passivity here for the next minute or two. And while we may see a medevac going around, or maybe a prism, something along those lines, neither player really benefits from being the aggressor at this phase in the game. Well, Clem is going to try and test the waters with these 3 upgrades finishing up. So the reason he's moving a little early here is so hopefully he can arrive right when those upgrades are done. Maybe engage the opponent right when those upgrades are done. That would ultimately give him, obviously, the biggest advantage, the biggest boost to his units. So let's see. Perfect timing here, by the way. Problem is, Protoss has also got perfect timing as far as the ranged for the Colossi goes. This is still super hard, though, for Protoss to break. He doesn't have that big wave of Zealots yet. Auto turret on the ground, too. Oh, no. Yeah, you may have 2 Colossi, but that's really about it. I mean, the Nexus itself may actually end up going down. He needs a lot of Zealots. He does have charge, doesn't he? Yeah, he does have charge. Widowmine's in the front, though, making this really quite complex. We have a Medivac also splitting himself off, going into the main base to try and force that multitasking here for hero. Okay, is there enough, though? Is this too much of a split? Guardian Shield once more coming up. Sentry this time around does stay alive, but in the meantime, the main base is already getting torn apart. Reinforcing Terran units show up, and the Colossi, perfectly split, are starting to take some base hull damage as well. That was not bad for hero, but it was also by no means great. A recall towards the main base to try and get this Terran drop off his back. It's now exposing those other two Colossi on the low ground. Nexus itself is running dangerously low. And this is what happens when you make a mistake in the early game against Clem. This is like, if you ever play a game against a pro gamer in a tournament, these are the type of attacks that are absolutely killer. And you will actually realize, like, so a long time ago when I first reached Grandmaster, I got to queue up against a few pro gamers on the ladder. And when you first get Grandmaster, you're like, oh, I'm pretty decent at the game. And then you play against a pro gamer and you realize how much juice you can actually squeeze out of the early game. Like, if you think you are playing a good early game right now, there is so much more value to be gained. All the little things just result in way more units. Even if it's just like 2 more Marines compared to like a Master 1 execution and a pro gamer execution, it makes all the difference in a game of StarCraft. By like minute 8, you just find yourself in such a tough position. And this is a perfect example of that. Like, hero getting supply block, he just doesn't have enough stuff. A couple minutes down the line, he just doesn't have enough. And that means it all comes down to King's Cove. Final game in this best of 5 series. Absolute banger of a match so far. Let's see. Let's see what we can do this time around. The gap between low-ranking pro gamers, or sorry, low-level grandmasters and, well, top-of-the-line pro gamers is kind of nutty. It's actually interesting. Like, a lot of the early game builds, I can almost guarantee you, if you are in Master 1 or so or below, like, maybe there's a bit of improvement still in Master 1 as well, but if you are in, like, Diamond League or below, there's just probably seconds here and there. Like, seconds here and there doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but if, like, your first queen is a few seconds earlier, it probably also means that your third and your fourth queen are going to be quicker, and, like, it accumulates very rapidly in a game of StarCraft. It's that crispness, which is what always surprises me whenever you try to, like, study Dark replays. Dark just doesn't really make a lot of sense in his early game, and he's often quite sloppy with his execution, but obviously he still participates at the absolute highest level. I guess that's just sort of his image, right? It's what we've seen him do for many years, and maybe it's also what's confusing some other players out there, but there's a lot of unintended anti-timings. Anyway. Start Command Center. Nice and early here for Clem. So, King's Cove is a very large map, first and foremost, but also a very defensive map. So, the first 3 bases are basically free. Not much the opponent can do about it. 4th base is a bit more difficult to acquire. But overall, you can go up to a lot of expansions pretty easily. I'm actually curious. King's Cove. Liquipedia. Let me see. What is the win-loss ratio like for this matchup right now? So this map was first around in 2019. At the time, it had a win rate for Protoss of 46%. And now in the current version of the ladder, apparently Protoss so far in the 69 games that have been played of Terran versus Protoss has a win rate of 42%. Meaning that, well, Terran is winning the vast majority of the games on this map. Interestingly enough, against Zerg, Terran has a win rate of 31%. And Zerg against Protoss, Zerg has a win rate of 42%. So in Protoss versus Terran, this map is Terran favored. In Protoss versus Zerg, the map is Zerg favored. No, hold up. So in Protoss versus Terran, the map is Terran favored. In Protoss versus Zerg, the map is Protoss favored. And then in Zerg versus Terran, the map is Zerg favored. Each of the races apparently has an advantage, a pretty significant one too, in all of the different matchups. Huh. Curious how that works. Obviously, the sample size is still relatively small. Although, it's been a good couple months since we've had the new map pool now. But anyway, personally, if I am honest, I don't really like King's Cove. I think this is probably the worst map in the current map pool. I don't think it's bad per se. It's just so, you know, King's Covey, right? Like this is, it is promoting a lot of passive play. And while it's nice, I think it's nice as like a game 5 type of map. Like in this particular instance, I don't really mind it because it's very likely we're going to see a big macro game here. But it's just a lot slower. There's just not a whole lot you can do in the early game, and it's forcing a bit more passivity. Now, obviously, you always do want to have a passive map or two in the map pool. I think it's good to have a few big macro maps. But in my mind, there's like 1 or 2 too many in the current map pool. And if I had to pick, I would kick King's Cove out. And Abyssal Reef. Yeah. Nah, actually, maybe not Abyssal Reef, because Abyssal Reef does have one redeeming factor. And that is, of course, well, do I even need to say it? Shark Bro! My best friend. My only friend. Alright. Oracle. We haven't actually seen any Oracles yet. 3 probes go down early with that Reaper shenanigans and the early game aggression from Clem. Now hero gets to roam the battlefield for a little while. We should get some additional tech labs here as well. Can we get the Stimpack? Hey, Clem. Psst. Psst, kid. You want to buy some Stimpaks? You gotta get it. Clem! Somebody wake up Clem. Oh, you already got it done. That's why. I was wondering what happened here. I was yapping for so long. I didn't realize we were already at minute 7. Oh my god, what did I even talk about for 7 minutes? What did I talk about for the last 5 minutes? I have no idea. Alright, big attack coming in right now. I was yapping about a lot of unrelated stuff. Oh yeah, Shark Bro. When I start thinking about Shark Bros, I just see love hearts in front of my eyes. Okay, here we go. Big attack coming in for Clem. Good force fields, though, by hero. Can he get the cancel on this 4th Nexus? I'm a little surprised hero decided to take the central one. I think he should go for the one right over here. Much easier to defend. Colossus, though, did just pop out of the Robo facility. Yeah, Clem is just so far ahead now as far as the sheer amount of units go. Careful, don't lose the Colossus! Okay, Colossus goes down. Reinforcing Zealots, though, did just now appear. And hero has decided to just keep this Nexus alive no matter the cost. I'll have to see if it plays off for him, because hero's got a good number of units here, but he lost so much more than the Terran did. Yeah, just a lot of expensive troops. You know what? The supply count is a little bit deceiving. We saw a very significant advantage for Clem in that department just about a minute ago, but this is, yeah, very recoverable. Obviously, hero's production comes in waves. When you produce a big warpin of Stalkers or Zealots or whatever, you obviously do suddenly appear with like 20 supply more. This is actually really not that bad for hero. No. Second Robo facility coming up, second Forge as well. He kept that 4th Nexus alive. He goes for the 5th Nexus right over here. Why did we not take the expansion in this spot? Hero's like, yo, bro, you want to fight? I'll expand in your direction. Big Zealot counterattack, by the way. This is something that can actually hurt you very badly as Terran. Especially as Clem, because Clem is always somebody who puts units out onto the map. There's a reason why we see a lot of Terran players camping their armies at home, and it's because they don't want to lose SCVs. Now, 5 SCVs is actually totally acceptable. That could have been a big problem. Turned out to be okay. And we're once more going to go into the Zealots and the Disruptors. Yep. Now, we saw this earlier as well. And at the time, Clem was already prepared to go into that Mass Liberator army. That is where the game is headed. We'll probably see Clem making an attempt to go towards Liberators. But we're not quite there yet, so the whole dynamic of the game is a little different now. At the time, it felt like hero was going for this style because he had one last out, and that was the strategy he decided to go for. In this instance, he's choosing to go for it, and he believes he's just, yeah, choosing the right strategy here, right? It's a bit different. Clem is not quite a ticking time bomb yet. Big EMP. Great EMP, by the way. EMP is so good against those. Good splitty as well on that one Zealot. Zealot run by once more. Goes towards the natural expansion. And now, yep, Clem's multitasking is going to be tested. How in the world do you micro against Disruptors while also trying to get rid of all of those Zealots in your third base? Not really manageable, but lucky for him, he decided to run the SCVs towards the low ground, and that was in the direction of his army. Worked out for him. Disruptor count, though, is going to continue growing. I would love to see the +3 start up as well here for hero. Ooh, big EMPs. Massive EMP. This is a really good fight for Clem. At least when it comes to shutting down all of those heavy units. That was about as good a fight as you were ever going to get it. Hero clumped all of his troops up together, and a few EMPs just blanketed all of those shields immediately. EMP is such a good ability, man. Very undervalued. Like, visually, it just doesn't look that impressive, but it's so freaking good. Some very close engagement here by Clem, but this is how the man likes to go and approach these sort of matches. Always very thin margins against Disruptors. He needs to be careful, though. It's really easy to overextend. I think Clem should just make a second starport if he hadn't already. He's got one already, yeah. Maybe make a second starport, go into the fusion core, and begin the transition towards Liberators. Because generally, we don't really see Protoss making a transition here towards Tempest. Like, from this position, Tempest is a bit awkward to reach. He does have a Stargate, so he could make that call, but this is basically him going, like, lots of probes and a very Zergy approach, right? So very Zealot heavy, very, well, gateway heavy in general. He's more likely to add on a lot more gateways here than he is to add in a whole lot of Stargates. 5th Command Center coming up right now for Clem. He's going into the double upgrades of his own. +3 indeed did begin as well here for Hero, who's now apparently back to adding another Colossus or two, now that most of the Vikings have been dealt with. Yeah, there's only 8 of them remaining. I mean, that's still a good amount, but it's good to keep the Terran player honest, not just have them produce a million Medivacs and maybe Liberators. If they're making Vikings, obviously they're not making Libs. Man, these fights always feel so clumsy. It's so easy, though, how these engagements can, like, flip in the favor of one player and not in the other. The Disruptors are so critical here, but it very much so depends on Terran making a big slip-up. That's why I'm not a big fan of this army in general. It's good. It's really strong in the right hands, but it also very much so depends on the opponent making a big blunder. Like, Hero is basically hoping that one of those Disruptor hits is going to slip through the cracks and that suddenly he will kill 20 supply worth of Terran. It is very much so up to Clem to make that mistake. But if Clem doesn't, he will pretty much always find himself at an advantage. Yeah, he's getting really good advantages here. Good traits. You look at the army values right now. I mean, Hero actually still is making probes, though. Hero is now sitting at 95 probes, which is kind of an absurd amount. So maybe these traits are not the most efficient ones, but it's very similar to the way that Zerg likes to go up against Terran or against Protoss. Just keep flooding the map. There's that fusion core, by the way, coming up, so we will be headed towards Liberators. Proxy gateway here as well. We already have a proxy gate. We may as well see one over here too, in another region of the map. Hero is effectively just going to keep putting his foot on the gas. He's got 100 workers right now. 100 probes. That means his army is tiny. He needs to continuously trade in order to get any sort of value out of this. So we have our third proxy gate. This is Hero going full aggression And he needs to make sure that he continuously warps in reinforcements, because otherwise Clem's army is just gonna get too good. But if he can somehow some way prevent Clem from going up towards Liberators, this is still a very winnable game here for hero. Clem now feeling the need to pull the SCVs away. Double of the Colossi though, they do end up going down. Big warp in right here of Zealots. We only have 11 gateways, which doesn't feel quite enough to me. I think we should probably add a few more into the mix. Okay, hero decides to retreat that position. Love the run by here. Just a handful of Marines, but all that Clem really needs is a bit of time. Big Stalker warp in over here too, though. Clem likely to lose that. Clem hasn't seen the proxies here up north. We'll probably see another Nexus here in a moment too for hero. Time to go into the Fusion Core upgrades. We should really have the ranged upgrade for Liberators. Or, yeah, that's the Medevac energy boost. As you can see, because of this constant fighting, the Medevacs actually don't have energy. This doubles the energy regen that they have. Another Nexus happening as well on the right side of the map. Let's see. He's looking for an engagement, and this is actually not a bad angle at all. Terran units kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, not an easy way to EMP down all of this army. Vikings still up in the air. He's forcing out more and more Viking production too, just by making Colossi. Those Colossi are made to die. It's a little sad, but it is what it is. Big Zealot warp in once more. Planetary Fortress, though, is really powerful here. Difficult for Protoss to break through. An easy anchor to fall back to here as the Terran. Caduceus Reactor right now is done. Clem doesn't feel like he can really make the transition towards Liberators yet, and I agree with him. He needs to stay alive against these attack waves, but there is just so much Protoss. The big Disruptor hits right now onto the Planetary Fortress too. Well, we have a couple of Immortals joining in. I was wondering what was plowing through that HP so quick, but indeed, that is the Command Center going down. Lots of SCVs paid a price. Disruptors awkwardly trying to slither away from this position. Maybe recalling them is the better choice, dude. Instead, we want to continue bowling here, and he does get some pretty nice hits. We had another Zealot warp in all the way up north. They'll probably commit to a run by here in just a moment. Terran, though, is starting to chase all of these units away, and this is costly. This is a lot of Disruptors going down. Nexus now has finished in the far bottom right. We've seen 17 Disruptors die in this game. 20 goes, though. They're not particularly cheap. Looks like a few of the units over here also collided. Zealot run by is gonna get cleaned up with relative ease, and now Clem has decided to position his old main base, the command center that he started the game off with, right over here in the middle. Another big warp in, another Nexus. We're back up to 100 probes. Hero decided to make some more. Yeah, and apparently the best way to fight this sort of Terran army is to play like the Zerg. No prisms, by the way. That's curious. Just no prisms. We're just making stuff from gateways. Hero thinking about maybe breaking open the natural or going into the fourth base over here. I think this is such a cool army composition, though, here for Hero. Just very different from what we've been seeing. Okay. Suddenly he's flanking again. Another Colossus shows up. If at some point the Viking count is at 0, which it is right now, those Colossi are going to be extremely hard to deal with. Another Colossus shows up. Another 11 Zealots get warped in. One of the Colossus takes a lot of damage, but he micros it back very nicely. Clem is taking so much hurt right here. Ooh. Another Orbital Command is going to fall. At least at this rate, I think it's going to be difficult to keep it alive. Another group of Zealots has shown up. 2 Immortals also come across. Hero's just cycling, man. 2 Colossi, 2 Disruptors, 2 Immortals, 2 Colossi, 2 Disruptors, 2 Immortals. Making them all go in 2 at a time. These traits are painful. They're not cost efficient for Protoss whatsoever, but his mining is through the roof compared to that of Clem. 18 SCVs. Yeah, Hero's going to keep this going. He's not going to give up on his aggression. If anything, he's going to become more aggressive, because he knows that Clem at this point has lost a lot of economy and that he can't sustain this army for much longer. Hundreds of Zealots paid a price, but I think ultimately the war is going to be won here by Hero. Look at the minimap. He's gobbled up so much money, and another game where Hero, well, he wins without the Terran player saying GG. 2 rage quits in 1 best of 5. from the world champion of StarCraft 2. Ay, 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 ay. Incredible series by hero. Well done.